Hi and welcome to the rocket scientists that review old LEGO classic space sets from the time period 1978 to 1987. Today we will review the LEGO set 6927 All-Terrain Vehicle. The All-Terrain Vehicle was released in 1981. It came with 170 bricks, and included in the set there were two minifigures, one red as shown here, and one white is hiding inside the laboratory there. The dimensions. The length of the vehicle was measured to be 167 millimeters, which equals to 6.6 inches. The height from ground up to the top part of the parabolas are measured to be 127 millimeters or 5 inches. The width of the rover was measured to be 80 millimeters, which equals to 3.1 inches. If I do a weight measurement of the rover with laboratory without the minifigures on board, I measured that to be 177 grams, which equals to 6.25 ounces. The design. So what do we have here? Well, obviously we have a vehicle because we see that you have some wheels here. It can roll. And you have also a house which are part of the rover here. And this house is a laboratory. The laboratory can be lowered to the ground by opening these doors, and you can drive away. And similarly, if you want to load it up for transportation, you do it like this, and you just close these together. And look at the red light there, it slides along the sloped piece there. And looking from rear, you see that there are these two slope bricks that mates with the sloped inverted brick here. And by angling them towards each other, it lifts the laboratory up. I can unload the laboratory now and we can have a look on the rover. The rover has 6 wheels, obviously, and they have used some Technics bricks to hold the wheels in place. You see there's 6 axles here, 1 per wheel, and it rolls fairly well, but there is some friction on this when you run this on a smooth surface. It's not the smoothest runner, I must say that, but it works well enough. You have several details. You have these ladders here. I don't think they are for climbing on board the rover. You have tools and antennas. You have also headlamps in red color, and the windscreen is in blue trans color, and you also have a windscreen on the bottom part here on the inverted sloped edge here, which is really nice. So the driver, he will have a good view downward direction also. Inside you have just a black and white steering wheel here and a seating position there. No instruments included here. What I think is missing a little on this set is a roof. I could imagine a trans blue colored plate here, which could be opened up. And exactly that is another YouTuber has done that, and I provide a link in my description so you can have a look on what he did to modify this rover with a roof, which I think came out very well. Other than that, nothing much to it. It's kind of open, of course, since it's the area where you will have the laboratory. And here you have these hinged doors that open up so you can grab and load the laboratory. A little strange thing with the rover is that you have these nozzle pieces on the rear end. Looks maybe cool for children, but for me it's a little strange to see rocket nozzle pieces on the backside of a vehicle. The laboratory is here, and yeah, you have a small house with windows on each side, on 3 sides at least. On the rear side you have the opening, so you have access here to the laboratory. You can also open up the roof like this, so they are hinged here. And we can have a look inside, so you see 2 controls here, and you have also this 2 screens down here on the floor, and you have a chair that can swivel around. Really nice little laboratory, or what I should say, it could be not a laboratory, it could be a communication center, but again it's up to you to imagine what you like. On top you have a double set or a pair of parabolas. The design on this, they look cool, but they are also static. They cannot be moved or tilted in elevation, neither in azimuth, and that is a setback in my view. And another thing which I don't like is it's a little fragile, this type of construction, so it's very easy to get loose or damage when playing with it. So it's not the best design. Here I think Lego could have done a better job. Other than that, you have printed pieces on 2 sides. You have the famous classic Lego Space logo here, and you have this arrow, and you have the same on the opposite side as seen here, which adds in nice detail. And you have also on both sides these red lamps, which has also a function to slide along the the slope brick here in order to be raised or lowered from the ground. And of course you have these landing leg feet used on spacecrafts here to support the little house. The dimension of the laboratory is 72 millimeters in length, 2.8 inches. The height is 124 millimeters or 4.9 inches. The width from each edge, from the edges of the lights, I measured to be 55 millimeters or 2.2 inches. If I place this on a scale without any minifigure on board, I measured that to be 69 grams or 245 ounces. So in respect to design, I think this was very easy. I have decided to give this a score of 6, a full score. I think it's well deserved. It's a wonderful set. In respect to playability, I have also decided to give it a score of 6 because you have this piece and this piece. You can load it, unload it. You have 2 minifigures with tooling like the wrench here and the walkie-talkie. There's so much to do with in respect to playability. Maybe a minus is these antennas that can be popped off very easily, but other than that I think it's well deserved to say this is a full score on playability. Nostalgic force, well, I never had the set, but I remember it. watching it in catalogs. So I will just then give it a score of 2. In respect to toy score, we are then up to 14 in score. Rocket design engineering. Is this something we could have imagined being built and put in use? Well, maybe. If we have a moon base, well-established base on the moon or Mars for that sake, and you want to be able to transport out different types of equipment to make smaller bases out at some distance from the main base, this could be an idea. Because this piece here, I think, could be imagined to be or I would guess is some sort of a telemetry system, or it could be a radar system, or some signal system to detect or analyze a phenomena or what else. But you would not just go out with this module, because you have limited space inside this compartment. There's hardly any room for food in here, and you could not sleep with any comfort in here. So this would be mostly for a day. But if you could imagine that you had several of these modules and they could be connected together, then you could have areas for resting, to eat, and toilet visits. You could have a power plant, because you need power to drive all the systems. It could be a laboratory to analyze samples. It could be several things. So then it could be a mobile type of base that you could be able to deploy when needed. So in that respect, I think it would be something that you could consider using. In respect to the rover, I think it has a marginal size. It's maybe sufficient, but it would need some of its size there to hold electric energy. Front part here, it's if you look here, it's too close to too little ground clearance here, and it's too sharp edge here. So this will collide too easily into rocks. I should rise this further up from the ground. Should also have a higher tip angle here than you currently have here. This is almost nothing. So you have better ability to move over rough terrain. The laboratory is a little small, and but if you could have several ones, it would help, but you need to then connect them together to be more practical, because if you're having a door on each module, then you need to depressurize and pressurize several times, because it would be impractical to just have a spacesuit on all the time, and you will have dust contaminations and issues with that. The antennas on this one are fixed in one position. This is very unpractical, so that's a huge disadvantage. So this should be able to be tilted and also set in different azimuth directions. So in respect to rocket design engineering, I have decided to give this a score of 4 of 6. So in total, 18 of 24 in score, which is quite good. Let's have a look at the instructions. Here I have the instructions in very good condition. You start building the rover. Here you see the Technics bricks and axles for holding the wheels, and you also see the hinged parts for the rear section of the rover. And here you assemble also the windscreen, the bottom part of it, and the steering wheel in step 6 and other pieces. Then you see the astronauts there. Step 8, I'm skipping the step 7 here. You see the side windows in trans blue color and the front windscreen on top. We're at step 9 and you have finished the rover. Then we have the building steps of the laboratory, starting with the floor and where this chair will be seated. And then on step 2 you have the computer monitors, and then the seat is in place and some other bricks. Then you also have some additional controls at the entrance on 2 sides. Step 5, the windows and the classic space logo and the arrow bricks, which are all printed, 4 of them. And you continue here to step 7, where you install the hinges for the roof. Then on 8 you finalize the walls, and then you have some tiles so the roof don't stick. Then to turn the house upside down and install the legs. Step 11, you start actually assembly the antenna onto the roof piece, which is in trans yellow. Then you have the antenna pieces, the parabolas, and then finally attach the roof to the house structure, and then you have finished. In the instructions there are also a picture to show how to load and unload the laboratory into the vehicle or onto the vehicle. And you have a final picture in the bottom showing the complete rover with laboratory on board. There's also a picture in the instructions showing an alternative build you can do. Here you see a vehicle with an antenna with a pair of parabolas to a mast, which can be tilted backwards, so you can do elevation, and it's also on this yellow swivel swivel plate so it can all rotate around, so you have actually azimuth and pitch angling of the antennas, so a mobile antenna tracking vehicle of some sort.